Sustainability is no longer doing less harm. It's about doing more good. A very good morning to one and all present here. With extreme privilege, I welcome you all for the 100 hours IEI TNSE Techno Carnival. The Institution of Engineers India is the largest multidisciplinary professional body of engineers established in 1920 with its headquarters located in Kolkata and incorporated under Royal Charter on 9 September 1935 by then His Majesty of King George B. The Royal Charter endowed the institution with the responsibility to promote the general advancement of engineering amongst its members and persons attached to the institution. After independence, the institution is a body corporate protected under Article 372 of the Constitution of India. The Institution of Engineers India is administered by a national council with the president as its head. The Tamil Nadu State Center was established originally as the Southern India Center at Chennai on 22nd December 1922. The southern region covered the erstwhile Madras, Andhra, Mysore, Hyderabad, and Travancore, Cochin. As more centers were opened in the southern region, it was renamed as Madras Center and later became the Tamil Nadu State Center. Tamil Nadu State Center has a special significance in the formation of the institution, for the IEI was registered in 1920 in then Madras province at Chennai. The registered office was subsequently moved to Calcutta, the headquarters of IEI. To celebrate 100 years of IEI TNSE, a 100 hours techno carnival is organized. A mega carnival structured with one theme, 100 hours, 100 topics, 100 X speakers with the participation of 100 organizations. Out of these 100 hours, today we have the second day event with the title Artificial Intelligence in Healthcare and AI in Social Applications, which is organized by IEI Salem local chapter along with partnering institutions Sono College of Technology and Sengundar Engineering College. Now, I kindly request Engineer S.R. Saravanan, Chairman, IEI Salem Local Center and Senior Manager, Salem Steel Plant, to welcome the August gathering.
Okay, thank you, Madam. Respected guests of today's program, Dr. Agilanteswari, Dean Academics of Sono College of Technology, respected Dr. Bhaskar Sankar, Chief Scientist from Chennai, other committee members, members of this particular committee, Dr. Kumarvel, Dr. Sadish Kumar, Dr. Engineer Kanivan Pulkundran, Dr. Davamani, and my dear friend Dr. Tangaraju, other coordinators, organizing partners, volunteers from Sono College of Technology and Sengundar Engineering College, and all the participants. Very good morning to all of you. As was told a little earlier, today we are celebrating this function under our IEI Techno Carnival under the theme Sustainable Development of the Nation, the Role of Engineers. Yesterday also there was a program which was conducted successfully by your team, and today also it is going on successfully, and I am extremely happy to the extent how our team is performing. With this, I welcome you all. I welcome the guests on behalf of all the participants, and welcome Madam and welcome Sir, and I welcome all the participants. Wishing the function a grand success. I welcome you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request all of you to turn on your video for a few minutes for a photo session. Participants, please turn on your videos for a photo session. Few more participants has to turn on. Kindly turn on your videos.
Audio is not audible, madam.
Thank you all. I feel greatly honored in introducing to you all the first guest speaker of this session, Dr. J. Akhilandeshwari, Professor, Head, Department of IT and Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, Dean Academics at Sono College of Technology, Salem, Tamil Nadu. She graduated from National Institute of Technology, Trichy, with master's degree in CSE and completed her doctorate degree at NIT Trichy in web mining at 2009. She has 24 years of experience in teaching and is currently the Dean Academics of Sono College of Technology. Added to her credit, she is the recipient of the Best Women Engineer Award, Fulbright Scholar, and University Gold Medalist. She also owns a patent titled Security Routing Protocol. We are really proud to have you with us, ma'am. We hand over the session to you.
Thanks, Lydia, for the nice introduction. Good morning, everyone. I must thank the organizers of IEI Salem chapter for giving me this opportunity to be part of this great event. And I'm very grateful for this thing. And I'm very happy that I'm giving a lecture or a topic in the artificial intelligence and social applications, which is very close to my heart. Because this is what I'm working on continuously for the past 10 years. And I'm very grateful that I'm being given this opportunity and this topic. Let me share the screen first of all. So hope everyone can see the screen.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Now we are going to have the topic on AI and social applications. We already know artificial intelligence is one of the topic that is being heard and talked in lots of spaces and lots of domains, and it is becoming pervasive. So earlier we used to talk about internet as the pervasive technology, but nowadays AI is also becoming a pervasive technology. Everyone's smartphone is having artificial intelligence. For some of the equipment that we have in a home has the smart intelligence. For example, our washing machine or your microwave oven, right? Or even the fans, right? They have the smart intelligence. You can switch on from your smartphone. You can switch on from some remote, everything, right? Havells is having such kind of smart fans. So everything in this world is becoming smart because of the pervasiveness of the artificial intelligence. So let us briefly see about what is artificial intelligence, and then we go on for what is doing for the social or the society. So theoretically, it's being defined as machines would have an intelligence equal to human brains. Till now, it seems impossible, but we do not know down the line in 20 years or down the line in 30 years, what may happen, we do not know. But at this moment of time, it is impossible. It seems impossible. Why? Because is that even the medical researchers are finding that some part of the brain, I mean 20 to 30% of the brain, they are not able to study what activity or what functions they are representing or they are responsible for. So even our own brain, human brain, we are not able to decode it. Then how can a machine can be able to equalize the functionality of a human brain? That's the challenge now. So that's why it seems impossible, but we definitely do not know what happens down the line. So because this example I always give when I teach machine learning, I hope some of these Sona College students, if they are here, they might have heard about this example. I always give this example. I'm an ardent reader of one of the author, Dan Brown. Many of you would have heard about this author. He's the famous fiction writer. He has written Angels and Men, and then Da Vinci Code, which has been movies presence also. He has written a book called Origin. This is one of the latest book. It is being released in the year 2017. So during the story goes like this. So in 2050, at the end of this, the plot is that a scientist in Europe, he wants to reveal one secret, right? So that is how the plot goes. And finally, the hero of that fiction novel, he reveals that to the world, right? So the secret is that in the year 2050, the human will be like half human and half machine. So the thinking, the functionality, every activity that the human do will be part of the human activity and also along with the machine activity. It will be like in Tamil, I used to call it as Ardhanarishwarar, right? Sivan will be used to call as Ardhanarishwarar, half man and half woman. So that is how the human will be in 2050. That is what the secret is of their particular novel, and the scientist is predicting that kind of change in the evolution of the human. This is evolution of the human, not the evolution of the technology. He's talking about the evolution of the human. But really, when I look at or visualize that kind of scenario, it's quite scary, right? I mean, visualizing ourselves as half human, half machine, it seems quite scary. But we'll have to see how will it be in 2050. Whether we are not here, whether we will be there or not, we do not know. So that's how it is, and let us see how it happens. But so theoretically, it is impossible now. But logically, that's why, because it's theoretically impossible, logically, the concept has been changed to like the machines will mimic the problem-solving capability and the decision-making capability of the human. It is not going to equalize the thinking power of the human. It is just going to mimic the two basics, or we say the sixth sense of the human being, like decision-making and problem-solving capability. So that is how it is being diluted. The definition has been diluted. And now we have two categories of artificial intelligence, strong artificial intelligence and weak artificial intelligence. So whatever systems that we use now or that we implement now, all will fall under weak artificial intelligence. And what we talk about theoretically, like machines becoming equal to human, is a strong AI. It is not yet practical. So there are not many applications in the world now which is providing with the help of artificial intelligence. And one thing I would like to say here is that many times the academicians or the researchers will use artificial intelligence, machine learning, or deep learning synonymously. So, but artificial intelligence is a bigger picture or a bigger paradigm, and machine learning and deep learning are algorithms to implement the applications which are in the paradigm of artificial intelligence. So there are many applications that we are using in everyday life. For example, speech recognition. So in your smartphone itself, you are using Android, you can have Google Assistant. If you are using Apple phone, you have Siri, you have Alexa at your home, right? All these are speech synthesizers, and they're all chatbots, right? Those uses, they have their artificial algorithms inbuilt in their system, right? And then we have one more applications which we are using for basic customer service. So one such application is intent prediction. It is being used very prevalently by a e-commerce based application like Amazon or Big Basket or Reliance market, everything, right? They use predominantly this kind of thing because, say, for example, if many people, if you have studied data mining, we would have studied about market basket analysis, which says that if you buy milk, you will also be buying bread. So that is what we call it as association rule mining. So those kinds of predictions. So if, say, for example, if 100 people are buying milk, then the market has to keep the breads also, right? So they will be buying breads. So the thing is that the e-commerce platform will not say no to the customer. So this is what we call it as intent prediction. So one thing that I experienced a few days back or 1 month back precisely, I was watching an interview of Sundar Pichai, who is talking about the work culture in Google during the pandemic. So I was watching this interview in YouTube in my smart TV, right? So I have not used my phone at all. When I started, after watching that, after a few hours, when I started browsing my YouTube, I started getting recommended videos of Sundar Pichai. So I have never seen Sundar Pichai's video previously in YouTube, only in the smart TV, but not in my phone. So I started wondering, so whether Google is having, because YouTube is Google's product, isn't it? YouTube is being, I mean, it's a vehicle of Google. So whether Google is, accessing our logs in our smart TV also using the IP address used by the smart TV. So this is one of the best intelligence I could see. This I would like to share in this forum. And the other one is this emotion analytics. So emotional analytics is nothing but, say, for example, if you would like to buy something, and if I'm talking to a customer service person, the customer service person can be a real person, maybe a human, or it can be a chatbot also. Say, for example, if your chatbot is being employed as a customer service person, then it will use emotional analytics. It will sense the mood of the customer and accordingly it will answer. So this will increase the engagement of the customer for buying certain products, and the business promotions will be more for that particular brand or any organization. The other one is the chatbots. Chatbots, I already told you. So chatbots are being used by anybody and everybody because employing human for such kind of repeated activity is becoming so difficult now. So finding people for that task is so difficult now. So the organizations are now utilizing the chatbots for those kinds of repeated activities. So these things will play under the category called customer service, so that the business are getting improved more. And the next one is the computer vision. So this is the most used artificial intelligence based applications. For example, surveillance, we have seen in many of the movies, right? Tamil movies or English movies, right? The surveillance, we see lots of pictures are being analyzed. Say, for example, in Vikram, right? So the pictures are being analyzed. And there is a movie called Eyes in the Sky. I see lots of movies. I read books. And I used to sync or correlate whatever that happens and the technology that we have that I normally use. So I have seen a movie, an English movie. It is available in Amazon Prime. Eyes in the Sky. It's an English movie. It's about the British intelligence. So they want to execute one terrorist, right, in Syria, right? So that's how the movie goes, right? So Eyes in the Sky is nothing but they have a camera, small camera, their fighter plane, and it will monitor the activities of the terrorists, and it is used to recognize the person, right? Using the ears, using the eyes, using the one side of their face, and etc. So this is mapping of this is a computer vision based application, right? So this is what we are using for surveillance. Surveillance maybe it is being used by different organizations for different purposes, mainly used by the bureaus, right? Like police and everyone. Right. The other one is extensively used field is medical field. Right. So many of them we are getting lots and lots of research papers implementing machine learning algorithms or deep learning algorithms for computer vision for medical records, like the images of cancers or thyroid cancer, whatever it is, right? Lots of images are being analyzed in medical field using the deep learning algorithms. So when we talk about computer vision, normally we associate with deep learning algorithms because the size of the images that we give as input to those kind of algorithms is huge. So that's why we talk about deep learning algorithms when we talk about computer vision. And then recommendation engines, it is like Amazon, right? So Amazon, we used to get lots of recommendations when we used to browse certain items in the Amazon marketplace. Amazon is the very first, application. Earlier, I think 10 years back or 15 years back, it was a bookstore actually. So I used to browse that bookstore, 10 years back, to purchase books. When I used to browse that, I will get lots of similar books that I may wish to buy. So that was the very first app that used to have recommendation engines, right? So based on that algorithms, lots of people used to develop many recommendation engines. For example, in YouTube, you have recommended videos. In Netflix, you have other movies that you may watch. And in Facebook, the other people you may know. So all these things are recommendations, right? So if we decide or behind these e-commerce applications or any social applications, you have these recommendation engines. These recommendation engines, the main purpose or the main objective is to make engagement or engaging the customers or engaging the end users so that they keep on watching, and it also uses the business perspective. And automated trading, this is picking up now. This particular application is picking up now because many people are engaged in stock trading. So now the bots are being engaged, which are natural language processing and deep learning based bots. So where those bots will keep on continuously monitor the market analysis, and it will start purchasing the shares for you if the preset conditions are met. So those things the users have to give. If I purchase a chatbot for that, I have to give the preset conditions. When can I buy? What can be the price for each of the stock and everything? I have to set it, and accordingly it will monitor and it will give the trend also. The trend and everything for the past few days, what is the trend, everything it will be presented to you. And based on the trend, it's a personalized chatbot. It is not a general thing that is all available in the trading portal or trading frameworks. So all these are available, and again I say artificial intelligence is becoming pervasive. Right. So nowadays we call artificial intelligence for social good. So though this seems why we are talking about social good. So whenever a new technology is becoming pervasive, we always have two schools of thought. One, a technology being bad, the other technology being good. So always whenever a scientist or a researcher creates a technology, he will always have one thing in his mind: it should be used for good. But there are people who tells that, oh, AI is not so good because AI is also used in the other side. For example, it may be used for certain pattern predictions, which may be used wrongly in certain scenarios or certain conditions or certain situations, right? So we always, because that's why it has become AA for social good is becoming a movement now. So AA should be AA for social good is again a coin of words. It's being taken as a movement in Google, right? When you search for AA for social good, there's a separate portal for AI for social good in Google. They are working on different societal problems which uses artificial intelligence. So that's why it is always for the good. It is we are not going to make it for bad. And then the next one is the applications. So the applications range from the societal applications range from diagnosing the medical conditions and also helping the blind people or the visually challenged people in navigating from one place to the other place, either in the normal roads or something, or in a environment, right? So that is how the things are. And the one thing that normally the people are looking for is that the AI applications, whatever applications being developed by different organizations, they are mapping these kinds of the purposes to the SDGs. SDGs are nothing but your Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So all the countries, it's being given by United Nations. So all the countries, the governments, right? All the countries' governments, they have to follow, they have to make this happen in the next 2030, in the coming 2030. So there are some 17 goals like no poverty, no hunger, clean water, clean energy, no pollution, quality education, and then life underwater, life on earth. There are some 17 SDG goals. So every government scheme or every government activity has to align with any one of these goals. For example, Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? So it aligns with the affordable economical growth, right? So that is the the Atmanirbhar Bharat is aligning with. So every AA application, whichever organization is developing, they will align with or sync with any one of the SDG goals. So there are around different domains which will map to different sustainable development goals like crisis response, economic empowerment, education, environment, equality and inclusion, health and hunger, information verification and validation, infrastructure management and development, public and social sector, security and justice. In this slide, numbers are given beside each of the domain. Those are the number of use cases that are being published by different organizations based on artificial intelligence. So crisis response is nothing but responses to natural or human-made disasters. So there are many applications like AI to map satellite images to prevent or to optimize the resources mobilization in the spread of wildfires or during the natural disasters like earthquakes or flood or anything. For example, Google was being extensively used in the year 2016 during the Nepal's earthquake. You could have heard about, we saw all those pictures in the YouTube or in the news channels, right? It was massive. The earthquake was massive in Nepal. During that time, Google's AI algorithm was extensively used to mobilize the resources using their satellite pictures, right? And also AI-based drones are being used to identify missing persons in forest, dense forest. So we are also in our college, in our department, we are also taking that kind of project. So it's happening now. It is being implemented now using drones for the forest, the counting of animals. Right. Another one is early detection of cardiac arrest. This is one of the use case which is being implemented in US. So unlike in our country, in US, if there is any emergency, they will call an emergency number, the health emergency number. If there is any heart attack, from the home, the relatives will call the emergency number, will say what is happening to that person. If it is a heart attack, the person, the other side should identify it as a heart attack and he should give the CPR instruction to the relative so that he can do that to the person until the ambulance arrives. So this is how it will be. But 25% of the time, the person who is talking the other side fails to identify because there is relatives maybe in very stressful condition. He or she may not be using exact keywords so that he may not be able to identify it as a heart attack. So there will be a fatal consequence to this. So what happens is that they employed a artificial intelligence chatbot instead of human. Chatbot is being employed and it interacted with the relatives of the person who was got affected. And 98% of the time, it correctly identified the heart attack and gave the instructions for CPR. And the 22%, I mean, instead of 25%, it became only 2% failure. Failure is failure, but still it has got reduced. So they're looking for 100%, but still it's only a machine, right? So this is one of the such important use cases which saves lives. So economic empowerment, this is one of the SDG. So opening access to economic opportunities so that even very small businesses thrive and they make money. Right? For example, there are certain technologies for small farmers also detecting plant damages using the drones, right? Using the sensors. Naturally, a drone will have sensors, right? We have seen lots of applications like spraying the fertilizers using drones, isn't it? So this is being because drone is just there are mini drones we have in our college, mini drones which just cost around 70,000 rupees, right? So it is a one-time investment. So if we could have a proper payload incorporated in that mini drone, then it can be used for anything. It can be used for surveillance. It can be used for the agriculture. Lot many applications are there when we have drones, and appropriately the payload has to be given to that drones, right? And automation of business processes. When we talk about automation, normally I would say it's a myth. I think the next speaker, Bhaskaran sir, would also agree with me. Like it is going to be a myth because everyone says artificial intelligence will kill the jobs. It is reducing the number of jobs. I won't say like that. We couldn't see that situation like that. Of course, artificial intelligence is coming in a large capacity in all the organizations. It is not reducing the jobs. It changes the nature of the job, right? So naturally, for equipping ourselves to do that job or fix ourselves in that or align ourselves in that job nature, the employees or the job seeker have to realign themselves in that skill set. So that is how it should be seen. It should not be seen that as reduction of jobs, right? It should be seen as change in the job nature or change in the job requirement or job statements or something, whatever it we say, right? So the whatever whenever people wants to go for such kind of job, they have to reskill, right? They have to upskill themselves to be fit into that job skill, right? And also travel and tourism, AI is playing a very big role in our country itself, right? When you say, for example, if I search like travel to Abu Dhabi or travel to Australia, immediately in Facebook, I get lots of travel companies talking about lots of packages, a lot of promotions like that. So it really makes the end users going through that or taking up that promotion. I will also myself think that why should I not think about going taking up that package, because it seems very attractive, and I started searching looking for the reviews of that travel company, right? So it increases the business. So educational challenges, it is being prevalently used now in education institutions also in terms of personalization and tutoring. So personalization is nothing but there are certain I already talked about emotion analysis, right? So we can analyze the emotions and see whether the students or the learner is really interested, and we can find out the learning styles of the students based on which how he browses through the content, how much time he stays back in the content. Based on those things, we can analyze what is the learning style, whether he's an auditory learner or is a kinesthetic learner or is a visual learner. Based on that, we can personalize the content, and accordingly, if we give it to them, the learners will start looking at the different content in their own way, so that it easily gets into their system. Grading, we have system, I think IITs, IIT Bombay, they have giving meaningful feedback to the students like that. Stanford and IIT Bombay, they have created one system where the answer sheets are automatically graded, and the bot will automatically give feedback to the students. I think I got disconnected briefly.
We can hear you again now.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So continuing with this, the IIT Bombay and IIT, I mean, they have a separate system, and Stanford, they have a separate system where the answer sheets are being evaluated by the bot. right, by the artificial intelligence system. Then about the environmental challenges, equality, inclusion, health, information verification, validation, infrastructure development, and management. There is one application called Autism Glass. So we are talking more about autism children, right? They have their learning disability, right? So it is one of the application where it will tell about the emotions, and it helps the children to interact in the social environment. Those children will find difficulty in moving with people. So that is the disability they have. So those kinds of this is called, we call it as equality. We don't make it under health. We make it as equality. We have different kinds of disabled people, and they should all be treated equal, giving them extra care in accessing the resources, right? So health, we know there are many applications. Information verification, validation. So we talk about the trust, right? So when we use these applications, how the trust should be validated, right? So there are many systems for that. And infrastructure development and management, again, AI systems are being employed for planning and resource mobilizations for building management and things like that. And even before 10 years back, we had a certain concept called structural health monitoring system, where we used sensors. We are using sensors to monitor the structural health of the building, right? There's a separate vertical in civil engineering department called structural health monitoring system, where IoT and artificial intelligence algorithms, machine learning algorithms are being employed. So to make all these happen, we talk about what all the capabilities that AI have to make this prevalent, right? To make this ubiquitous. Image classification, object detection, natural language processing, structural deep learning, and then advanced analytics. So there are many libraries and many programming frameworks are available, like Python, R programming. All these have lots of libraries for advanced analytics. In advanced analytics, we talk about visualization, 3D visualization and everything. And then natural language processing, it's like, say, for example, what example can I give? Say if you're talking, it has to talk back. It has to engage you in a conversation. That's what we call it as natural language processing chatbot. So in the same novel that I just now told you about, The Origin from Dan Brown, right? So there also, not in the novel, again, in France, there is one famous museum called Louvre. So in that museum, a headphone will be given. That headphone is loaded with the assistant, right? Chatbot assistant, right? So earlier, when you want to visit, we will use a human to explain us what all these, what is this manuscript, what is about this picture, what is about this drawing and everything. Somebody will help you to understand what are all these things. But nowadays, there are some chatbots which will interact with you. It won't tell, right? You need not listen to it. You can talk. Accordingly, it will change its mood, change its slang and everything. Everything will be changed according to your need. It is customized, right? It is nothing but natural language processing. So there are lots of bots available in that thing. So the next one is the time is getting over in just 4 or 5 minutes. Before that, I would like to show you two examples, right? So one example is Microsoft Glass being developed by Microsoft, used for visually challenged people. The other video that I would like to show you is that the application that we developed in our department. So it is a research project funded by Department of Science and Technology. And so that research project is about navigating the visually challenged people in a predefined environment like airports, railway stations, in a mall, because your Google will not walk. Google Walk is there, right? So Google GPS. So GPS will not help you to identify where is a platform or where is a gate number in an airport, or which, say, Peter England showroom is available where in a mall, right? So Google Walk will not tell you that. So if visually challenged people wants to go around these kinds of predefined environment, they have to have a separate assistive device for helping them to navigate. So using object detection and image navigation, along with my colleague, Mr. A. Naveen Kumar, we have developed this product. So it is a prototype. So we are looking for, we have already completed it, and we have filed 2 patents around this, and we are about to get patent granted for this project. And that video is also I'm sure. I hope you can hear the audio from the YouTube.
I'm Saqib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7, and shortly after that, I went to a school for the blind, and that's where I was introduced to talking computers, and that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives. And one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response, and you think, is everyone listening really well, or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see 2 faces. 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised. 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do. But artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate. And I'm really excited to see where we can take it. As engineers, we're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before. And in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
It's about taking that far off dream and building it one step at a time. I think this is just the beginning.
So this is the video that I was talking about, the project that we have developed by us.
Where do you want to go? Go straight and walk 20 steps to reach destination. Go straight and walk 15 steps to reach destination. Please wait, staircase is in front of you, then walk 10 steps to reach your destination. Please wait, object person is in front of you. Go straight. Turn right and walk 5 steps to reach destination. Go straight. Go straight. You are reached destination.
So you could have seen the video, and we are faced with lots of challenges when we started developing this project, and still lots of challenges are unaddressed, and we are. So when we try to give that training and get the feedback from the visual and challenged people, new problem statements arrive, and we are still working on that. And this is the end of my presentation. I hope. I hope I have given some insights on different social applications where artificial intelligence is playing a major role. And I wish and I hope that as technologists, we use artificial intelligence for societal good and make our life healthier, and we improve our standard of living and the way of living. And thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for a highly informative session. Your session elucidated almost every social application of AI and how useful it is. Now I request the participants to kindly turn on your videos for a few minutes for a photo session. Thank you, participants. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing our next speaker, Dr. Bhaskaran Shankaran, Chief Scientist at Datendriya Data Science Solutions India, Chennai. Completing his Master's in Electronics at Anna University in 2002 and his doctoral degree at Simon Fraser University in 2003, he co-founded Datendriya Data Science Solutions, a data analytics company focusing on providing services for pharma companies. Acquired by Syneos Health, a US-based pharma CRO in Feb 2022, he played diverse roles in the startup, such as leading the cloud infra team in efficiently managing cloud-based BI services, building ML, NLP solutions, and being responsible for overall operation, including the finance and legal. He has extensive experience in R&D, building engineering software systems in multiple domains, including business intelligence, neural machine translation, statistical machine translation, natural language processing, Indic language tools, etc. We are really honored in having you with us, sir. We request you to address the gathering.
Thank you for your kind introduction. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you to IEI for this wonderful opportunity, and thanks to Sona College for organizing this program. And I'm sure it is very beneficial to the students and other participants. Thank you, one and all. Yeah, and Earlier, Akhilandeshwari ma'am already gave a wonderful presentation covering the social application for AI. And I've been working in NLP and machine learning and some AI applications for the past 15 years. And I was very thrilled to listen to her lecture. It was very exhaustive and comprehensive. And in this session, I would like to focus particularly on some of the applications the AI could be used in pharma industry, which is where I have been working for the past 5 years, close to 5 years, right? So, yeah. So here are some of the application areas when you think of healthcare and pharma. These are some of the possible applications. This is again not exhaustive list. There are lots of other things that you could do, but this will just give you a very good idea and a snapshot of what are possible, right? So for example, if you are part of a pharma company that is developing medicines or drugs for the patient for different medical conditions, etc. So pretty much you can use machine learning or other areas of the AI, right? AI is generally an umbrella area. Underneath that, you have multiple areas like machine learning is one, and another one is natural language processing. Computer vision is yet another field. So there are diverse areas, right? And you could do lots of things. So for example, right from sales and marketing, how to optimize your supply chain. You'll be getting raw materials for different chemicals or inputs to your drugs that you are manufacturing, etc. Or when it comes to sales, you have to worry about being able to do customer segmentation in what market you want to sell the drugs, or in which areas the particular medical condition is being highly prevalent, etc. So that is one aspect, right? And then at the time of drug development or drug discovery, the pharma companies go through multiple stages, right? One of the key stage during the drug development process is the process where they do the clinical trials. So the clinical trials is the stage where they have developed a drug and they have tested it on the animals and other things, and they know that the drug is working to some extent, and now they want to, before they take it to the market, they want to test it on the volunteer humans and then see the efficacy and then release it to the market, right? So that particular phase is clinical trials. So that is a crucial phase. That is in fact time-consuming step typically in most of the clinical trials. So there you could do use lots of machine learning or artificial intelligence techniques, either to speed up or to help you draw conclusions and from the clinical trials, or to extract insights from the past clinical trials, what has been tried earlier and what are the techniques or what are the medications that has not worked or that has worked, etc. Right? And it can also help you to identify the right set of patients, right? For example, if you are developing drug for cancer, for a specific type of cancer, right? Then you better identify your patients who are having that medical condition, so that your whatever conclusions you are drawing from the clinical trials, it is very efficient and it is highly reliable. Right? Whereas if your set of patients do not have that medical condition, then it is the clinical trials could go waste actually. So it can also, the AI can also help you identify right set of patients. For example, identifying early patients with early onset of cancer at the earliest stages of cancer or at different stages, etc. Right? And also if you have lots of yet another application in the pharma and healthcare, in fact, this is the bigger one, is the electronic health records. So people are already moving away from papers into electronic health records. So because these are likely to be accessible wherever you have, for example, you can have your entire history of health in your mobile phone, right? This will be especially useful for old people whenever they are traveling, or chronic patients with chronic medical conditions, wherever they are, to carry the full set of medical records in their phone or their handheld devices, right? So that in the case of emergency, the doctors doesn't have to worry about, okay, what is the medical history of the patient? Is the patient allergic to this medication or not allergic to this medication, etc.? Because they will be able to access the health records instantaneously. And when it comes to that electronic health records, how to manage those electronic health records, the NLP, natural language processing, can come in very handy with that respect. And I'll cover some of the examples. So I will try to keep the talk lightly technical. It will not be very technical, but it will definitely have some terms, etc. I hope the audience can follow. Okay, here are some of the ML specific applications. So you can forecast what is going to be the sales volume of my drugs, or you have a medical device which people are using, like diabetic monitoring, glucose monitoring, right, or blood pressure monitoring, etc. Right. So, for example, during the COVID time, there were lots of studies that showed that the sales of medical devices like thermometer gun or thermal gun or BP monitors hit the roof. It really went up, right? Because people were having acute issues, especially in the first phase of COVID in India, and also during the initial phases elsewhere in US and Europe, etc. Because people do wanted to have a way to monitor their medical condition on an ongoing basis without going outside the home, etc. Right. So, and then the other thing is customer segmentation, which could be done using clustering in machine learning. So you, like, for example, Akhilandeshwari ma'am spoke about bread basket analysis, right? If you're buying milk in the morning, or if you're buying bread in the morning, you're likely to also buy milk, right, in the supermarket, right? So things like that. So based on what type of medication or medications you are buying from the pharmacy, the companies can try to understand what medical conditions you might have, etc. Right. So that is also could be very useful in the long run. So, for example, Google has, especially in the US, during the winter months, flu is a very big issue for them. Getting regular flu, which is the fever for us, which is very common here. It doesn't have much impact for us in India, but people could get really sick in US, and there are lots of deaths. Thousands of people die in US every year on account of flu. Okay, whether you believe it or not, that's the truth. And there are flu vaccinations that people are required to take every year before they can go to work or they can go to school, etc. Right. So things like this, if they are buying fever medication or flu medication in the pharmacies, that can trigger alert. Okay, these areas there is a high volume of flu medications being purchased. So maybe the government can go in and try to increase the vaccination drive there. Those kinds of things are possible. And then another one is supply chain optimization, like large pharmacies. They'll be able to predict which medications are likely to be in demand, and they can increase the stock accordingly, or they can decrease the stock accordingly. So those are some examples. Okay, and here are some NLP applications. So again, as I spoke, the wealth of electronic health records means we have lots and lots of data, and we can extract insights from those data, which could be anything from, okay, the nature of the disease, or what are the medications that the person is taking, or what are the symptoms. Each and everything is going to be mentioned in the document, right? So these are actually the insights, and these are the critical information that will be available. And if we have a means of automatically identifying and extracting them, that would have lots of rewards for to the patients, to the doctors, and to the pharmaceutical managers, etc. So named entity extraction or categorization, chatbots, these are some examples. Like, for example, there is telemedicine now where people can interact with the doctors on a regular basis. For example, sitting in Salem or Chennai, now we can fix video appointments with the doctors in the apps. The apps are available. Practo, etc. You can have video appointments with the doctors, and then you can explain your symptoms or show the symptoms, and then you can get treated. They can give the prescriptions, etc. Okay, so in this talk, I thought I will give high level, at the very high level, I will give 3 examples, one ML application and 2 applications in NLP area. I'll try to keep it at the very high level and skip the technical part. The idea is to show how interesting it can be and what the algorithms can predict, etc. Right? Okay, coming to the drug ML application. So the first application I would like to talk about is the drug sales forecasting. So we have this data. Was there a question from the audience? Okay, so we have this data from the US pharmacy sales data. So this is for a 4-year period. I think it partly overlapped with the COVID, with the early COVID onset period in US. I think somewhere around the end of 2019 to 2020. I think I have a slide coming up later. So this data is worth, this is 4 years worth of data. And this captures weekly sales volume for nearly 300 plus drugs. These are unique drugs. And for those drugs, it captures, okay, what is the weekly sales volume for those drugs? And one thing I should mention is that this only captures the prescription drugs, like the ones that you need the prescription to buy. For example, it could be the sleep drug or some antibiotic or something. So it might not capture things like regular medication like Dolo 650 or those things which are called over-the-counter drugs or OTC drugs, which you can buy over the counter without the prescriptions, right? There were lots of challenges in this work when we were working in this, because we didn't have access to information like the insurance data or the copay, whether the patient is paying part of the amount, what is the name of the drug. Even that, the drug name was not available because it was sensitive, personal, sensitive data. We did not have access to that, and so we didn't know the drug group or the drug name or what it is being treated for, right? So we only knew the ID for each drug and the sales volume. That is all we had. And if we had additional information like, okay, what is the drug being used for, or what is the name of the drug, what is the strength, like the dosage, whether it is 25 milligram, 50 milligram, that's what the strength is, right? We could do a lot more analysis with that, but this was the bare minimal information that was available. So as I was saying, there were lots of interesting trends that we could capture. Some of the drugs, for example, could be used for seasonal reasons. Like, as I also already mentioned, the flu, which was a major issue during the winter months in the US, right? And some of the drugs, on the other hand, are required on a regular basis. For example, they are used to manage the medical condition, right? For example, this could be a diabetic drug. People have to take it on a daily basis, or a cancer drug or something else, right? So these are the drugs that requires continuous and sustained usage by the patients, right? And based on the data, we tried different models, and here is the snapshot of the data. So this was for the period from October 2019 to April 2020, they're covering the roughly 6-month period, right? The CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control in US, estimated that there are nearly 50 million, like 39 to 56 million cases related to flu. That many people were, that many times it was impacted, right? And they were nearly between 18 million to 26 million visits to the doctors related to the flu, right? And these were number of hospitalization between 0.4 to 0.7 million hospitalization, and up to 62,000 people could have died due to flu, right? That was the official numbers from the CDC. I mean, this is just to give a snapshot of the severity of what a simple disease like flu or a simple medical condition like flu can do to a society, right? So if we have a way, or if the AI or ML can give us a way to better manage this in terms of early detection of flu onset in different areas, quick deployment of vaccination, etc., it can significantly help to reduce the number of deaths every year, right? So so from that perspective, what the technology can do potentially, it's very significant and very huge, provided it is done rightly, of course. So anyway, with that data, we try to use different factors when the patients are buying the medication, what is the season, whether it is the summer or whether it is the winter or spring, etc. For example, people will have lots of allergic issues during springtime due to pollen spread, etc. So the allergy medications will be used significantly during that time of the year. Similarly, what time do people buy, whether it is a particular holiday week, major holiday week like July 4th or a Christmas week, etc. Also, one other factor we try to include is the paycheck week, because unlike in India, US paychecks are given every 15 days, right? So whether it is a paycheck week or not, that will help us determine when, why people are preferring to buy the medications at that time, because they have money to buy the medication probably. So those are some of the factors. Also, we looked into the historical sales, previous few weeks into history and trends, how much increase or decrease it caused, etc. And we obviously tried multiple algorithms. I'm not going to go into those algorithms. That's not the point. But here is the typical sales volume of the drug, right? So, for example, here you will have you can see what is the on the y-axis is the volume, how much absolute number the drugs has been sold. You can see this is already more than 1 million, right? 10^7, right? And this is the week. I'm not remembering now whether the week was beginning on a Monday or a Friday, but it was one of that. And there are 4 categories, as I was saying, whether it was a normal week, which was indicated in a red circle, or whether it was a holiday weekend with the stars. You can see this is close to the, I'm not sure, this is probably Easter or something during April, May. Whether it is a holiday week or whether it is a paycheck week, whether it is a shopping period, etc. Because some drugs in US could be really, really expensive. That is why we had to use factors like whether people have money to buy those things or when people will get the salary, etc. It was important for us to use those features because of that reason. So, okay, so you can see that the drug sales was roughly increasing every 90 days, because typically people buy medicine worth 90 days and then they will repeat it after the end of 90-day period. So you will see that the volume jumps every 90 days, And after roughly 3 cycles, it stabilizes and it continues for roughly 2 years or so. But then it starts to decrease after that, right? And this is because during this period, only the branded drug volume, when a new drug is introduced in the market, the generic or the cheaper version of the drugs will not be allowed in the US, right? So which means only the branded drug will be available, which could be very expensive, right? But once the cheaper generic drug is introduced, the sales volume of this drug will go down and the generic volume will start going up. So that is why you have trends like these where the sales volume is constantly coming down, and at some point in time it stops, right? So these are some really interesting things. And here is probably another example. This is a different drug code 162, which doesn't show any pattern, right? So probably this is something. Also, you can see that in the y-axis, it is the volumes are really low. So this is probably a drug that is used to treat either a rare medical condition or something. And it is being used throughout roughly in a uniform way. Okay, here is a second example of how well the model works. So here is the actual drug volume, actual drug sales in the red, and these are the predictions. The green shows the predictions by the model. You can see that it is roughly tallying, and there is a 1 week delay or something. So on the x-axis, you have the week number. The delay is because of the model one of the feature in the model, and it is really, you can see that the model is really performing well. And here is, I'm sorry, there is some problem. Yeah, here is another example where the forecast, which is the actual is in the red here, and there are two predictions. One is in the brown and the other is in the black, right? A black curve that's going up. You can see that both the two models work very differently, where the brown model is very close to the actual sales volume, whereas the other one is completely haywire, right? So this shows that model selection, which model you choose for your prediction, is also very important, right? So it is important to remember that. Okay, the second application I want to talk about is the demographic clustering. This would have lots of applications, even within the Indian context, right? So, for example, the government has lots of welfare programs, etc. So, with this customer segmentation or demographic clustering, this is slightly different from customer segmentation. I will explain this in a bit. So this could really help in identifying, okay, the government comes up with let's say a welfare scheme, and it wants to identify where they want to deploy this welfare scheme, or which area they want to target first. A model like this could be very useful to identify the target demographic, right? So what it does is basically it takes the equivalent of PIN code that we have in India. In US, we call it zip codes. And it uses the census data, different census data, the population demographic, the population information, what is the population of that PIN code, zip code, and what kind of people are there, what is their income range, what is their education range, whether they are college graduates or whether they are not college graduates, etc. What is their employment, whether they are blue collar workers or white collar workers. There are lots of census data available, right? So one is the population demographic data and the other is the financial or employment data. So with both these data, people will be able to come up with, we can come up with a demographic clustering model where the idea is to cluster the pin codes into multiple groups, right? And where each group, where all the pin codes within a group are homogeneous or similar to each other, right? So for example, we could use this to identify the target segment for a welfare scheme. Okay, this is the these are the pin codes where you have a significant population of tribals or significant population of disadvantaged communities, etc. And you can really use that information to target. The same is useful for other social welfare organizations like NGOs, etc., where they want to target the education or other things. So, but in this case, we use the US Census data. So that is something you should remember from the perspective of this discussion. And as I already mentioned, we were using these two broad kind of information, the population demographic and the financial or employment data. One second, I hope I am sharing the right screen. Okay. So these are some of the challenges that we used, but I will stay at the very high level, and I just mentioned that we did feature selection to limit what information or what features we want to use. And we also had to worry about normalizing the columns, because some zip codes could be really dense in populations, whereas something could be, for example, all the rural areas could be very dispersed, in the sense that the density is going to be much lesser, right? For example, in the Indian context, the population of a particular pin code in Chennai and the population of, let's say, a pin code in Attur are going to be drastically different, right? Because the Chennai pin code is going to be very dense. There are going to be lots of people living within 1 square kilometer, whereas in Attur, this number is going to be much smaller, etc. So in order to be able to compare them at the equal footing, we have to ensure that we normalize the data appropriately, so that the model can do the right analysis and give us meaningful results. So we did ensure that we normalize the columns appropriately and reduce the variance, etc. And finally, we reduced it to 60 different features for the models. And for the number of clusters, we actually used a method called the elbow method to identify what is the optimal number of clusters. Of all the 25, there are 25,000 zip codes in the US. So how many clusters should we form out of these 25,000? That was the question, right? So we used a method called elbow method to determine what is the optimal number of clusters. Okay, here is the elbow method. We did the elbow method. Again, I'm not going to go into the specifics. This is just a generic illustration of how the model works, the elbow method works. So in this case, for each cluster size, the x-axis, it calculates what the variances, intra-cluster variances, which is given in the y-axis. And then, so this will be like an elbow. It will start from higher value, and then it will go on reduce and reduce. At some point, it will plateau, right? So then the model is going to pick a value where it has already reached a minimum, and beyond which the variance doesn't increase higher. So that is what the elbow method is. So it looks like the elbow of your arm, right? So that is what it looks like. So that's why it's called the elbow method. So we use this model, and I believe we ended up generating 40 different clusters for 25,000 plus zip codes actually. And we used the k-means clustering. Again, this is the iterative algorithm. So it starts with random points, 40 clusters, and then tries to change the clusters, and by seeing how the variance changes at every point, and then it chooses the different centroid, etc. Again, I'm not going to go into the technical part, so these are the 60 different features we used, right? and we plotted what is the variance. Remember, I spoke about normalizing the values, like I said, the population values of Chennai pin code versus Arthur pin code, right? So the goal is, once you do the normalization, it is important that the variance among the features, it is much lesser. It should not be very high, right? So the y-axis shows the variance and the x-axis shows the feature number. And you can see that the variance is generally reduced. So the y-axis scale, you can see there is a difference. Instead of 0.16 being the higher value, here we have the highest is 0.08. So the variance has roughly reduced by 50% already here, right? So that is what the feature processing that we did helped us to reduce the variance for these different features that we used. And then based on the, there is no one right way or the wrong way. So based on the clustering, what we did, here are the 5 richest zip codes or pin codes, right? So these are the zip codes, and this is the area, and this is the size of the cluster, meaning how many zip codes were there in that cluster. So you can see that within the same cluster 25, there are 3 zip codes from the same cluster. So these are 25 is the one of the cluster which has the richest zip codes, right? How do we know? So the point of this analysis is really something like a qualitative analysis, right? Because we cannot do quantitative analysis with clustering. So we know that Palo Alto is an area where the Apple is headquartered, and most of these are in California, right? Which is where the Google and most of the tech companies are located. So it is no surprise that the model has predicted these as the richest cluster, right? So we can kind of conclude that the model is working well based on what we have fed and based on the features that we have given. So this is just doing some qualitative analysis, remember that. And here is a quantitative analysis to see how the clusters are doing. So on the left side is the cluster centroid distance, right? For each cluster, we have something like a centroid, right? What is the midpoint of a cluster? So think of it like there are 10 different points in your graph, and what is going to be the midpoint? So that is the cluster centroid, right? So you calculate the distance between between each cluster to every other cluster, you will get a heat map like this, right? For the distance between 0th cluster here and 0th cluster here, it's very minimal because they are the same, right? So that is the black. 0 means they are closer apart, and the higher the distance, the farther the clusters are, right? The higher the centroids are, the farther the clusters are located, right? So you can see that, for example, cluster 14 is very different from every other cluster. You can see from the color, right? That is the farthest. I'm sorry. So same with cluster 35 is located farther from every other cluster. So now on the right side, you have the cluster sizes, right? What is the size of each cluster? You can see that 14 and 35 are the smallest cluster. So this basically tells how many zip codes are there in each cluster, right? So cluster 14 and 35 are really the smallest clusters, and you do not have enough data really to say whether they are closer or farther from each cluster. So that's why they show us really different. So these are probably outliers. These could be very rural areas, for example, or very remote regions within US, etc. Similarly, the dark shaded ones, they are also outliers. For example, 7, 19, 24, 25. Again, you can see that 7, 19, 19, 24, 25. These have really smaller number of zip codes in it, meaning the cluster size is very small, right? So that is the reason why they are different from other clusters. So overall, we can conclude that the model is doing reasonably well at this point in time. Again, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip and go to the next one. 1 second. Okay. So going to another application. Some applications in NLP, right? So extracting some insights. I already spoke about extracting insights. Could be helpful. So here is the objectives, right? For example, given the electronic documents, we want to identify something that is interesting, right? Also, if do we have means for automatically summarizing these things? So you would have heard a Watson for oncology, right? This was one of the very well-known tools that didn't work well in the end. So it was done by IBM. In fact, I was with IBM Research at that point in time. I was part of the IBM neural machine translation team. But anyway, the Watson for oncology, what it tried to do was a very ambitious one. So, given the oncology records, the cancer, the health records of cancer patients, the machine is going to automatically read those things, health records, and understand those things. And not just that, the machine also has access to thousands of medical literature, right? You have the scientific research articles that are published within the field of oncology. So it has gone through each and every article that was published that was part of the scientific literature in the oncology. And then it knows exactly what was the treatment it was used, or what was the diagnostics it was used, or what was the medical procedure they were using. What is the drug strength, what was the chemical component, what are the symptoms of the patient, every possible information that was part of those scientific literature, it had access to those things, right? So given these things, what the model tried to do was to automatically come up with diagnostics to help the physicians saying, okay, this is the diagnostics of the patient. So given the medical history of the patient, I believe this is the diagnostics, and this is the appropriate treatment course for the patient. Maybe put the patient through the chemotherapy, or do not do the chemotherapy for this patient. Use some other medical procedure, or put him under medication, this medication, etc. So it was pretty ambitious, but in the end, it did not work well. And in fact, one of the interesting reasons, right? So you should remember this if you are working in machine learning or artificial intelligence, you should try to use real life data for training your model, right? In the case of Watson, what happened was this was uncovered as part of the postmortem to understand that they did a major study to understand why the Watson for oncology failed. And one of the important reasons that they found was that the model was not trained on real life patients. So the model had access to all the scientific journals, all the original scientific journals, that is right, but it did not have access to real life patients, but instead they were using some simulated set of patients to study the model. It was examples, a list of examples given by one hospital, and that was the one that was used by the researchers to train the model, right? That was in fact determined to be one of the major reasons for the failure. So anyway, but you can use the machine learning or artificial intelligence to do some of these things, provided you have real life data, right? And again, there are going to be lots of challenges when you extract these kinds of insights or keywords, etc. I'll show some examples of what you could do at a very high level, right? Again, at a very high level. This one shows a pipeline of what you could do and what kind of information you could extract, right? So again, this is at a very high level. There are lots of underlying components involved in each and every one of these steps. So don't assume that this is trivial, etc. So in the first step, typically you have information coming in different types of data, different types of files. It could be a PDF file, or it could be a Word document, or in many cases, like for example, scientific literature, they are actually scanned images, right? Like a JPEG or PNG format, etc. So from these different formats, you first have to extract the textual information from them, right? There are lots of tools available for this, off-the-shelf tools, because developing your own tool could be time-consuming. So there are lots of off-the-shelf tools to extract the textual data from this. And then once you have the textual data, you need to do cleaning the data, which is to remove the noise and reconstruct the sentences, because the sentences could be broken down across different pages or different sections, etc. So you need to reconstruct those sentences, and removing the header, footer from the papers, etc. And then you have different pre-processing steps in the natural language processing. Some of that is to, for example, let's say identify the punctuation marks, remove them, extract the sentences, etc. Right? And then you need to identify what features you are going to use. So remember, this will depend on what you want to achieve, right? Depending on different tasks. So for example, I have given 3 different tasks here. So these are 3 different tasks. One is the keyword or insight extraction, and the other is the summarization, and the third one is ranking, right? For searching and ranking, something like what Google does, right? For depending on what you are trying to do, you will do different set of feature selection. And for the keyword extraction, what you are interested in is, okay, what is this document about? Can we explain it by showing these are the top 5 or top 10 keywords from this research article, right? Or can we go one step further and automatically try to summarize the article or the health record, right? So that the doctors who doesn't have time can go through the summary and then can look at the individual sections depending on what they find interesting or not, right? Or if you are interested in just being able to identify the documents related to the search query, right? So you can just come up with a ranking scheme, just like, again, to repeat what I said, something like what Google has. You could give a search interface by having a ranking algorithm behind, and it can give you a ranked list of documents for each of your query, right? And there are lots of use cases here I have mentioned. So these are limited to the, these are kind of related to the pharmacy industry, but MSL discussions, etc. But the point is again the same. You want to extract interesting information, which could be of different format like summary or keywords, etc. Okay, so for example, so these are some of the example keywords that we extracted from the documents. Again, you may not understand most of these terms because these are highly technical terms from pharma domain. Amyloidosis is a medical condition. Acute hepatic porphyria is a rare disease, etc. So again, I don't want to go through this, but here, this is just to show you what your model can do. So these are set of good words, and you can see that these set of words are do not have the same score, and so these keywords are not reliable. Where these keywords are better, right? And again, so here is the example for summarization. So there are lots of times discussions happen between 2 doctors or 2 experts within the field of biology, right? Whether they could be involved in developing a cancer drug, etc., or one could be a pharmaceutical rep having discussion with a doctor, etc. So most of these times, these discussions are captured, annotated, and transcribed and then they are analyzed further, right? And one of the clients, they wanted means to be able to summarize these discussions so that instead of going through the entire discussions, if we can generate a summary, they wanted to go through that short summary. So, for example, for this particular discussion, this was manually generated insight, and this was the automatic insight that was generated by the model that we built, right? And the one in the green shows the overlap between the automatic insight and the human generated insight, right? So this shows that the models can perform in cases like these. These are, of course, stripped down examples where the model is working in a specific domain, right? So because we know how to customize the model for this domain, how to tailor the model for this domain, we are able to do that. But if you take the same model and deploy it in a completely different domain, let's say financial data, it may not do well there, right? So it is important that you do model customization for the domain or for the data set that you have. Similarly, there is another example here where you have overlap with the human curated insight. Again, the point is just to show what is possible and hopefully to excite you, right? So I think in the interest of time, I'm going to skip this. And I will just give a very high level introduction to named entity recognition, right? So named entities are basically those that could refer to a particular place or a particular organization or a particular individual. For example, Institute of Engineers India, IEI, right? That's a named entity, right? Similarly, Sona College of Technology, that's a named entity, right? So similarly, there could be different entities in the pharma. Can we identify reliably those named entities? That's the goal here. So specifically in the pharma industry, the names of the proteins or genes or diseases or symptoms, these are going to be the named entities. And one of the tasks that we had was to automatically identify these named entities, right? The proteins, genes, diseases, etc., automatically from the documents and show that. So we developed an unsupervised model, again, without going into the details. Let me skip. We had nearly 62,000 clinical trial records, which was publicly available. These were the clinical trials data, and we tried to extract the named entities. We used an iterative model. You can see that for each iteration, it identified more noun phrases. These are the named entities. It reduces the number of noun phrases that are not identified, reduces at each iteration. You can see that. And this gives the accuracy figure 94%, 99% for the evaluation. Again, here, this is my final slide. So here is some named entities that are identified by the model and what is the confidence score for that. So, and for example, this identifies that these are the diseases correctly. And again, those are just two examples that I'm highlighting, but there are other diseases that are shown here. So with that, I stop. I hope this would have given you what interesting applications you could do with the AAML. And thanks to Institute of Engineers and Sona College for the opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. It was a great pleasure to listen to your talk. It's really amazing to see such a huge count of applications of AI in the field of pharma. Now is the time for the participants. You can ask or post your questions, if any. So there's a first question. This AI is essential for the technological development, but how can we restrict the privacy of the individual?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the first things that we have to do is to anonymize all the patient data. In fact, most of the times when we get the data set from our clients, we'll be getting only after it is anonymized. I think I mentioned it somewhere in one of my earlier slides. Yeah, but it is important that we have to remove the personal information. We call it PHIs, and in order to ensure compliance with the privacy. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Sir, can you hear me right?
Yes, yes.
Sir, I have a question. So even though AI cut down cost and reduces manual pressure, on the other side, like many people tend to lose their jobs. And because of this, unemployment becomes a major issue, sir. Like, what do you think about this and how can we come out and how can we cope up with this, sir?
Well, I believe Akhilandeshwari ma'am mentioned this early on, right? So what she said was spot on. So the AI is not going to probably not going to remove the jobs, but it is probably going to shift the jobs from one expertise to the other. So it is going to create jobs where with different kinds of expertise, right? So if the job is repetitive, can be automated, then those are the types of jobs that are going to be, how do I say, those are types of the jobs that are going to be automated by the AI, but not all of the jobs, right? All said and done, for example, I gave the example of Watson for oncology, right? So even at that time, there was a huge outcry saying this is going to make doctors or even radiologists obsolete, because when you have a CT or MRI scan, the radiologist has to record her or his finding by looking at the scan. Okay, there is a elongation or there is this medical condition observed, whatever that is, right? They have to record the information. Lots of people express concern saying now all those people will be out of job because the Watson can do those jobs very easily. But in reality, it turned out that those, in fact, were very difficult jobs, and the Watson could not do those jobs efficiently, right? And as I already mentioned, Watson for oncology failed spectacularly, right? I mean, I come from IBM. I was with IBM at that time. I was part of the Watson, but part of a different team. But I have no hesitation in saying that while what they tried to do was ambitious, it fell short. It fell way short of what it promised, right? So I don't speak for IBM. These are my personal views, but I don't think it is going to remove or it is going to make people jobless, etc. I don't think that.
Thank you, sir. Got it, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So finally, one question, sir.
Sure, please go ahead.
So good afternoon, myself Aru, third year from Sona College of Technology. So my question is, as there are a lot of AI jobs roles that are available in recent times, can you suggest how can we improve and develop our skills to get into AI domain and researches?
Okay, so it's a okay. So let me share the screen. Okay, so I had this as a beyond the thank you slide. I had this how to become a data scientist or ML expert. So again, this is not a recipe. There is no one size fits all. This is just some suggestions that work for me, and so I would recommend. But this is, I mean, for individuals, they have to try different things. But generally, you have to try writing lots and lots of codes or develop models, use different data sets, and see what the model gives the output, etc. Right? So first you can, for example, you can start by looking at the existing code and then trying to make minor modifications. But then you have to soon grow out and you have to start implementing things by yourself. For example, most of the times people just use scikit-learn models, right? I mean, there is nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that will not help you to understand how the model really works or what happens behind the screens in the model, how things are optimized, etc. Right? For example, when I was doing PhD, there was no scikit-learn. Right? So we have to implement models for gradient descent or for any of the those things. Right? Nowadays, those are given. Right? In the name of democratizing the machine learning or data science, all these tools have been made available. But in my opinion, what is also resulted inadvertently is it has made people lazy, and it has people are using these things out of the shelf or off the shelf components, and they are not trying to understand what is behind those algorithms. So you can try to implement some of those things yourself. For example, trying to implement the k-means algorithms. That's one of the easiest thing to implement. There is no math at all, so you can do it easily. So those are baby steps you can start, and then you can try to implement some linear regression model yourself. When I say implementing the linear regression model, you build your own, you write your own code to do the linear regression instead of using scikit-learn, right? That's what I mean. And then you can choose whatever language that you are comfortable in, Python, Julia, or doesn't matter, but you should try to excel in that. Also, Jupyter is a very good tool, and that is very good for initial stages, but again, it limits the potential of the individual. That's what I believe, because you will never learn to write structured code or production ready code, right? Coming from a company, right? It is very important for me to write production level code where the model can run quickly with very limited memory, without consuming lots of memory, without much of memory leak, etc. Those are important, right? So you have to learn those things also. So those are engineering aspects, not necessarily model building aspects. Once you do the proof of concept, now you have to use engineering or software development principles and make your model production ready, right? So that is important. How to do profiling or debugging in each of these languages. CPU profiling is important. What is the part of the code that takes lots of time? So that is profiling, right? Again, and other things like learning to use Git, it's very important, and trying out different data sets from Kaggle. Those are some of the things, these are some of the recommendations, I would say. But again, as individuals, you have to decide which one interests you and focus on that area also. I think we might be out of time. I'm not sure
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for addressing to the participant queries. Now we invite our beloved Honorary Secretary and COO of Global Lab and Consultancy Services, Engineer N. Sendil Kumar, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. So I thank Dr. Agilendishwari and Dr. Bhaskaran Shankaran for accepting our invitation and delivering this wonderful lecture on artificial intelligence applications as part of IEI TNSC Techno Carnival celebrations. So it was a thought-provoking and wonderful lecture. So it was an eye-opener to many. So we could able to understand the applications of AI into different fields, mainly into social applications, and again with pharma applications with more examples and anecdotes. So we thank once again the participants for joining with us today. Wonderful virtual lecture event, and thank you all. So as part of these celebrations, we have scheduled another series of lectures in the first week of September. I request all the participants to join with us. So thank you all for joining with us today. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all.
Thank all the dignitaries and participants for joining the session. Thank you all. Feedback link has been posted in the chat. If there is anyone who didn't fill the feedback, kindly fill it.